Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, continuing the Ozzy Osbourne discography, and today we're talking Scream, which came out in 2010 under Sony Music or Epic Records. Now, with this album, let's go back to about 2008, 2009, where after many years, Zakk Wylde, who played guitar for Ozzy, I guess he got left or kicked out because from what I heard, supposedly, at least since probably like Black Rain or so. So Ozzy was telling Zakk that the songs were starting to sound too much like Black Label Society, which is of course Zakk Wylde's band. So he kind of left or so. But on this album, we have this is of course the only album to feature the great Gus G, who of course many people know, who plays with Firewind. And I think Gus actually is a great guitar player with all the different guitarists that Ozzy has, even starting from like Randy Rhoads, Jakey Lee, to Zakk Wylde to now with Gus G. I feel like even like playing some of the old stuff, you could tell they have like different styles and everything. One thing to note, like I feel like compared to like Black Rain is kind of more darker and stuff and had some more rocky kind of stuff, but I feel like with Scream it has a bit more kind of, I feel like it's the complete opposite of Black Rain. It's more kind of upbeat and has that kind of vibe with it. That's just pretty much my interpretation of it. So let's dive into this track by track. Now, starting things off is Let It Die. Now, Let It Die is already a big surprise and really heavy and controversial kind of stuff. And the structure is kind of weird with this song. It's like cut into pieces, has a bit of almost kind of like an industrial sound, and some weird like voice effects, which kind of was weird, especially with Ozzy. But I feel like with any like albums that Ozzy has done, he seems to be amused to shock us from time to time. Next up is Let Me Hear You Scream. Now this song kind of reminds me a lot of like I Don't Want to Stop from, of course, the previous album Black Rain, but this has a bit more kind of a happier kind of vibe and feels more lively. I feel like Ozzy making like an attempt to make it sound more aggressive. It's really catchy and stuff, and Gus just really is great guitar playing on here. And then we get to Soul Sucker, which, from what I heard, the album Scream was originally going to be called Soul Sucker, but I heard like because the fans didn't really like it a lot, so he changed it to Scream and stuff. But with Soul Sucker, now this pretty much sounds like a throwback back to sort of the most underrated Ozzy, or pretty much the least talked about in his discography, Down to Earth. But with more half the contents on here can be referring back to that era, but simply pumping like a great energy and to give it kind of like more of an appeal to it. Life Won't Wait. Now this is a semi kind of power ballad a little bit, which kind of sounds a little bit like Mama I'm Coming Home, but has a bit kind of a more of a metallic bombast to it. And then we get to Digging Me Down. Now, Digging Me Down, after reaching into like the past of it, has a little bit of like an acoustic intro that kind of reminds me of a lot of like Blizzard of Oz or Diary of a Madman era. But it's sort of like meshed it with some plenty kind of like slow trudging, kind of muddy kind of, especially out of like the current era of that Ozzy has been playing off of. Crucify is up next. Now, lyrically, I feel like it talks about like religion and sort of crooked preachers again, or very much what they prey upon, the desperate kind of like people. Then we get to the last half of the disc, which isn't as powerful as the first half, but we're starting off with Fearless, which is pretty good. At first, I didn't really thought it wasn't that powerful, but I feel like when I listen to the song more and more, I especially like it, especially in like the chorus and even like the solo that Gus G does on here. Next up is Time. Now, this is a very catchy, singy-songy kind of power ballad, similar to like Life Won't Wait a bit, and it has some great soloing, which kind of sounds just like Zakk Wylde, which kind of makes you wonder if Zakk actually helped with this song or had some ideas before he left. I Want It More is the next song. Now, this is a really great riffs, very hooky, kind of sounds very much like Black Sabbath, has kind of like a groove to it, and another rip-in solo, and some really great choruses that just get stuck in your head when you hear it. Latimer's Mercy. Now, this boasts some really great guitar chops from Gus G, including some doomy kind of hooky riffs and another wailing solo as a great of an ominous bass part and a great drum fill. No, and I feel like, in my opinion, this is sort of the record's like highlight. And then we close things out with I Love You All. Now, this song, it's not really a song per se. It only lasts about a minute or so. It's basically like Ozzy saying thank you to the fans and you stood by me and God bless you. And I love you all. Which, honestly, 15 years later after losing Ozzy, it definitely hits differently now. Now, overall, Scream by Ozzy Osbourne, another great good addition to the discography. Kick off the next decade in the 2010s, which sadly this will be his only album in the 2010s, because he wouldn't have another one until Ordinary Man like 10 years later in 2020. Maybe because during that time he would do stuff with Black Sabbath from like 2011 until about 17 or so, but then of course the pandemic happened in 2020. But anyway, so if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give Scream by Ozzy Osbourne a solid 8 out of 10. So that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.